welcome back once again. I want to show you guys something. I want to brief you guys on how to get this keyhole that you are seeing on the screen here. So this keyhole, how to get your upper part, that is what I want to show you. So if you have been following me by now, you should have known on how to get your front piece for your princess bag, because this is actually a princess bag. So what you really need to know is to get the depth of your neck, where you want your keyhole to start from, and you should take note that you are going to have a sewing allowance. You are going to have your own sewing allowance that you are going to sew. So what I'm going to use here now, I will make use of 6 inches. So let me make use of 6 inches for my depth. 6 inches for my depth, like this. So after getting my 6 inches of the depth, I get my shoulder measurement. Down. Shoulder slope 1 inch, minus 1 inch for my shoulder slope. And then I get my bust, which is 7.5. So how to actually get your armhole measurements is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So after taking away 1 inch for your shoulder slope, from here to here will be your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. That's what I have from here after coming down from my. Okay, so after getting your armhole and your 6 inches for the depth, so take note, this is my depth. This is where I want the depth to be. So what I'm actually going to do now is, since I have made here my depth of my neck, but if you look closely, it has how is it called? It has sweetheart neckline. So from this part, you're actually going to decide how you want the width of your opening, which is at this side here. So what I have here is I have 4.5 for the width, which is the opening of the wideness of my keyhole. The wideness of my keyhole, I'm using 4.5 here. So from there I came in by 3 inches. So you can still go ahead to decide either you can make it 4 or 3. It depends on how small you want it to be. That is the easiest way to say it. How wide or how small you want the keyhole to show, that is what you are going to look for. So for what I am making now, what I can see there is 4.5. That is what I want to make use of now. So from this my 6 inches depth now, I am going to connect it down to this point here. Then from here I'm going to take it down like this. So mind you, this point which I have here like this, I am also going to create my sewing allowance, because I am going to sew this into this upper part. I am going to cut my upper part separately. So I'm not going to use this as the yoke. I'm going to cut my yoke separately, and I'm going to show you guys on how to do that with your pattern paper. So after getting your sweetheart neckline, I'm doing this on fabric for you to know that it will come out nice. So after getting your sweetheart neckline, this is the point that both your yoke and your main bodice is going to fix in. This is the part that is going to join together. So what I'm actually going to do now, I'm going to take from this. Take note, I am taking 6 inches. From my 6 inches, that is where I am cutting from. I am cutting from my 6 inches. So we also need this as a guide when cutting my yoke on a pattern paper. We also need this as a guide, because after placing, since it is 6 inches for my main block here, when cutting my pattern paper, it is going to be 7, and I might even extend that to make the calculation easier for you to understand. So this will be aside. This will be kept aside. Or let me cut my armhole. This is very easy. I'm trying my best to make it easier for you to understand. So let me go ahead to cut my armhole. Then I will come back to you. Let me get my paper and come back with a close explanation. Okay, so this is my pattern paper and I have gone on to draft. So what I did was to come down by 1 inch. So this space I left here is 1 inch. So from this part, so here is my line which I'm going to get my armhole from now. So from this my line which I rolled here. So here I have 1 inch for my shoulder slope. From my 1 inch, so from here to here I have 1 inch for my shoulder slope. And from my 1 inch down to this part, I have my bust divided by 6. So my bust is 36 divided by 6 plus 1.5 gives me 7.5. So this is my armhole, where my armhole is going to sit. So after getting that, what I'm going to do now is to get the width of my neck. So the width of my neck, which I'm going to make use of now, is 3 inches. So these 3 inches now, I'm going to connect from my shoulder slope down to my neck here. So after connecting it down to my neck here, what I'm going to do now is to get the depth of my neck. So remember, take note, the depth of our neck, which I have here, the depth of my neck is 6 inches. So let me show you guys again. So the depth which I have here is 6 inches. So the depth of my neck that I'm going to make use of now is 6 inches. So this is my 6 inches which I have here for the depth of my neck. And mind you, from my armhole, so we are going to get where it stops from our armhole. So you can see my armhole now which I have here. So from this armhole, which is from here where it stops, that is what I want to locate right now. So from this part here I have 5.3. so definitely from here to here we have our 5.3. so you can see what I have here. So what I'm actually going to do now is to connect from this part, from this my 6 now. I want to get back my sweetheart neckline. So after getting my 5.3 here, from this part again, from here I came in by 3 inches. I came in by 3 inches. So 3 inches, which is like this. Or to make it easier for you to understand, let me work with my yoke. So you can see my yoke right here. It is totally my yoke which I'm working with. So what I'm going to do now is to connect it. So place my yoke like this and connect it to get back my shape down to this point. I'm going to place this mark here. So you can see this mark which I said 3 inches which I came in from. So that is the mark that I have here. Then connect my yoke from this part down to this point. So after getting our princess now, so we are taking this is our yoke and our main bodies. That is what we are doing here right now. So after getting your yoke part now, this is your upper part for your yoke. What they are going to do, they are not going to fix it. But if you cut it like this and fix here, put your sewing allowance and fix here, it will be exactly the same thing which you want to do. And you know we are going to have a keyhole at this part. So to get our keyhole, what we are going to do now is we are just going to rule a straight line or a slanted line. It depends on how deep you want your keyhole to be. So for my keyhole, I don't want it to be that deep. So let me make it of 2 inches. I don't want it to be open like that. So I'm going to make use of 2 inches for my keyhole. So I'm just going to connect from this point. From this point down like this for my keyhole. Hope you understand what I'm doing now. So I have connected from this point down like this. So here is my yoke which I am using for my keyhole. So this now is our sweetheart neckline and this now is our keyhole. So I will get the depth of my neck. So if you take a closer look at the picture which you are working with now, the neck is not that deep. So I am going to make use of 2.5 for the depth of my neck. 2.5, and I'm going to connect my neck down to this point like this. I'm going to connect my neck like this. So after connecting my neck like this, what I am going to do now is to place my sewing allowance So this is now is our yoke which we are making use of. Sewing allowance of 0.5 inch. I'm going to place it on my pattern like this. Then my neckline as well, I'm going to place my sewing allowance at my neckline as well. Then take it all over down to the shoulder. Place my sewing allowance at my shoulder as well. So make sure you come up by ½ inch. You know, ½ inch to join our shoulder together. So come up by ½ inch for our shoulder. So once you are done with your sewing allowance, because this will enable you, because if I go ahead to cut this off, there will be no sewing allowance to fix to this part, because I have cut this off. I need sewing allowance to be at this part, because when cutting this, I have it in mind that I'm still going to use 0.5 inch here. I'm going to use 0.5 inch here. So by adding this sewing allowance and fix it here, it will fall back to the actual measurements which I already have. Hope you understand. Because I know you might be asking, what if I join it if this part is not going to have its own sewing allowance? I included that sewing allowance here because when cutting my fabric, I included my sewing allowance. When cutting my fabric, like from here, from my shoulder, I already have my sewing allowance included. In the cutting of my full bodies. So when I took this out and I got exactly the same measurement out here, this one I increased there. This one I increased there now has replaced the one that we reduced from this part. I don't know if it is understandable for you. So what I'm trying to say is that what I am going to take out from this part, I have included it on this shoulder part. So this other part which is here, this one which you are seeing here now, is the one I include for this other part, this down part sewing allowance to join it to this body. That is what I added there. And this one here now has been included from the shoulder here. So what I am going to do now is to cut it out. So take note of this point now. So this point is where I am going to join both of it together. I'm going to join the both parts together from that point. So here is the joining of our neck. So at this point now, which I am going to join to this point, because after sewing everything, I'm going to join it all together like this. So at this point now, I am going to notch this point like this, because I am going to sew this close. I'm going to sew from here after cutting my fabric and my line. I'm going to sew this close. Then I'm also going to notch here as well. Because I'm also going to sew here close. This one now is going to fall inside. This one now is going to sit inside of this. So I will put this as a notch to indicate that when I want to cut, I will have to sew here close, so as a guide on where to stop my sewing from. So after doing that now, as this is my neck part, I will rule a straight line just like this. I want to give this part a tightening at the neck part. So I'm going to use 0.5 inch as my neck tightening. 0.5 inch as my neck tightening. So, you know, we have our tightening at the bust part. So for this part to relax well at the chest without it popping out, you need to take in 0.5 inch to tighten the neck. So 0.5 inch, that is what we are going to use to tighten our neck. So what I'm going to do now is to cut my 0.5 inch down to this point like this, down to my half inch for my sewing allowance. Then I'm going to place it like this and tack it down. So you can see what we have here now. So I'm going to tighten my bust, so you can see. So if I tighten my yoke, I'm going to tighten my yoke so that it will fit and relax well at the chest part. Because if you don't tighten it, this part will shoot out at the chest part, because our bust here already have that tightening. After sewing it, you will see that to get this your shape, there is a tightening in holding the dart that we kept. So we need to keep that tightening, because if you take a closer look at our yoke here, our yoke is not equal like that. It's not that sitting that straight, because of the tightening of this part also affected from this other side. So I will have to tighten my yoke like this so that it will sit properly at the chest when she puts it on. So what I'm going to do now is to tack this down with my paper tape. So let me do that quickly. I have done the tightening of our yoke at the upper part. So what I'm going to do now is to cut my fabric now. So I will go on to place this on my fabric. This will sit straight on my fabric. Then I'll go ahead to trace everything out. Then I'll come back to you. Okay, so let me explain this back again for you to understand, because I think maybe somebody will not really understand. I really want you guys to understand this, because this time I am spending there. I don't want it to be a waste. So what I actually did now, let me just take off this my armhole for you to understand better. So what just happened here now, so this is totally, before I cut this off, this is totally my full block body plus my sewing allowance and everything. So to get my yoke, which I have here now, I went on to get my sweetheart neckline. I decided the width of my neck, how I want the wideness to be. So after getting my wideness now, from my 6 inches now for my depth, I connect it down to this point here with a free hand. You can do this any way you want. You can still make it straight. It's still the same thing, but the picture which I am working with now is a sweetheart neck. It's not a straight cut, so you need to give it a sweetheart neckline. So after getting my sweetheart neckline now, this now has now been divided. So as this block is like this now, to join this block back to its normal position, if you join this block like this, half inch, you have shortened your fabric. So if you want to join this block to this block back again, like you want to use this and you want to join it back again, what you are going to do is to include 0.5 inch at this block here and 0.5 inch at this block. Then you sew your 0.5 inch, it will fall back to your normal position like this. So since I already have 0.5 inch, since I already have my full measurement here plus sewing allowance at these bodies now, so after taking this out, I need 1 inch, 0.5 inch from this block here, 0.5 inch from this block here, which is 1 inch. So I now keep this aside. To get my pattern now, take note, to get my pattern now, I need 1 inch for sewing allowance. And excuse me, so I was able to get with my pattern paper. Let me come back with my pattern. I want to explain this okay for you to understand. So let me take this my paper tip out. I'm not going to explain that because you already know how to get that. So after getting my pattern paper now, so what I did again was to get my shoulder from, I came down by 1 inch here as my space that I'm going to use later for my joining of my shoulder, as my shoulder allowance. So I came down from this my line now, I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. From my 1 inch down to this point, I have my bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. That is the formula to get your armhole. So from here to here, I have my bust divided by 6 and I ruled out here. Then from my shoulder here, from my shoulder line, I came down by 6 inches from here to here. 6 inches. That is the same 6 inches I have from here to here. So after I come down by 6 inches, I was able to place my fabric like this. I placed my fabric on it like this because I want to get my sweetheart neckline, I want it to be equal with the one we already have at this part. So I need to use my yoke, which I have cut out now. So I use this yoke now to trace out my sweetheart neckline, so that I will have the same shape of what I already draw out here. Then after taking this out, this was what I got here. So after getting this sweetheart neckline, I have already indicated this part. I've already indicated from here to here, because I said 4.5 inch is my sweetheart. So 4.5 inch. So I already have my 4.5 inch, which is this part here. I have a mark which is here, and here there's a mark that differentiates this both sides. So here as well, I also notch here, so that when I want to sew, it will be easier for me to join by knowing where to join. So that was where I get the width of how open you want your keyhole to be. That determines here. If you want it to be 2 inches, you can see some picture that the keyhole is very small. It depends on how wide you want it to be. So me, I want it open like this based on the style I am working with. So after getting your keyhole point, you are going to put mark on that point there. Then to get your opening, so you can see my sweetheart came like this, and I went on to take a slant just to meet this point, straight slant. So this opening here now, this opening you are seeing here now, is my opening for my sweetheart neckline. So after getting my stroke here connected to this point, I went on to add, remember 1 inch for sewing allowance, I went on to add 0.5 inch down to this point, 0.5 inch. And at this, my shoulder part, I add 0.5 inch right from my neck down to my shoulder downwards, because I'm going to use the lining to fold this. And if I use the same neck like this, it will be small after joining. So I included my 0.5 inch at my neck here and both at my shoulder. I hope you understand on how to come about. So that's how I was able to get this now. So after getting this, I close my dart. I already explained that. I'm just coming back to make you understand. So now with this now, with my darts being close together, I have gone ahead now to place this to get my pattern. Make sure this part is straight when cutting your pattern. Make sure you place this part straight. So I have gone on to cut my yoke for my upper part, and I have 2 pieces of this. So one piece, I'm going to gum one piece with my SD where I want to be at the front part. So I'm going to design which part I want to use. I can use any part at all to be at the front side. So I will go ahead to gum it with SD, then come back to you. So no time, let's be fast about this. So after doing that, I went on to sew my neck and sew this part as I told you, and I went on to notch my neck and notch this part. So I'm going to turn it over and iron. So let me go ahead to do that. So you should have something like this after doing everything. So this part here now, we are going to fix it like this. We are going to fix that part at this part. You can see where I notched here. So this notch will be a guide for us. So what I'm going to do now is to place it like this. I'm going to place it like this, and I'm going to sew across down to this part. Then from here as well, I'm going to fix it from that point, and I'm going to sew across down to that end. So after doing that, I am going to attach my lining. So before that, I'm going to cut my lining out. Then I'm going to attach it together, and I will come back to you. So I have gone ahead to do everything. I have gone ahead to sew everything. So this is what we should have after everything. So this is my back piece now. I want to cut out my back piece. So take note that we have already cut out our neck. So everything we are going to do now, I have also joined my side. So we must make sure that we keep our sewing allowance at every piece. Sewing allowance you are going to keep at your side and at your neck with your zipper allowance. So this up will be like this. So what I'm going to do now is I will keep my sewing allowance of 0.5 inch for my neck. Then I will decide on how deep or how high I want my back neck to be. So remember, I have my sewing allowance at this part. I take note of my sewing allowance, and even this my side there. I hope you can see my side. So my side there, I have my sewing allowance at this part. So what I'm going to do now is to cut out. Make sure this your down part is straight. You can see what I have here. Make sure this is in line. It's not coming down, so you don't they want to go and make some kind of silly mistake. So what I'm going to do now is to cut this out for my neckline. Take note of our sewing allowance at this part so you don't, but my shoulder will be cut equal. Shoulder equal, armhole equal. The only difference is your side and your side and your neckline. So here is my zipper allowance 2 inches. So I wish you guys good luck. Go ahead and try yours like this. I bet it will come out perfectly and nice. So see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Video and value. I shoot video for this.
My daddy.
In a video.